Hello and welcome to the 11th tutorial video for our Space Invader style game. This is actually 11 part B. So in 11 part A we showed how to do a countdown timer where when you run out of time you lose. In part B we're actually going to do a counting up timer, just a timer that keeps track of how long you've been playing the game. So that way on the win screen you can say your time was and print the user's time, or on the lose screen you could say you ran out of time, or you survived 4. So right now we only have a win screen because there is no other way to lose. So we're just going to kind of keep track of our time. So we're going to need a couple variables. There is an internal clock that we're going to be able to use, but we need some variables to actually work with the different functions. So we're going to make a variable called total time. That's going to be equal to the internal clock, which you can't actually use. You need a variable to be equal to it. You can't actually reference the internal clock. Then we're going to have to keep track of how long we're on the splash screen and how long we're running the game, because if we only have one clock, when we start our game, we're on the splash screen. So if we stay at the splash screen for 5 seconds, then when we actually start the game, we're going to be off by 5 seconds. That won't actually be how long you've been playing the game for. So we're going to make a timer called splash time, and we're going to make a variable called game time. So that's going to allow us to keep track of the different functions, the different stages that we have. Let's go down to draw. The first thing we have to do is start our clock. So that's going to be total time is equal to millis. Millis is the internal clock. Equal to internal clock. That starts the second you press play. Now let's go down to our splash. When we start our splash, start splash function timer. That's going to be splash time is equal to total time. So that's going to keep track of how long we're on splash. And now let's scroll all the way towards the bottom of our game where we have our status bar. Let's put this right above the status bar because we're actually going to be printing the time on the status bar. And we're going to say game time functions. All right. Our first thing we have to do is we actually have to stop the splash timer. Okay, so splash time is equal to splash time. And that's going to be store amount of time spent on splash screen. So it doesn't matter if you spend 3 seconds, it doesn't matter if you spend an hour. It will still keep track of your accurate game time. The game time is going to be equal to the total time minus the splash time. So therefore, you're only displaying the amount of time that you've been playing the game. Let's go ahead and print this on our status bar here. I'm actually going to steal this font that I use for the scoreboard timer. Why don't I add a real quick score? Okay. Let's go ahead and say time. All right. And then let's print game time here. So we said the word time, and then we're printing game time. And obviously we want to move this. Let's move this to 510 and 570. So that's going to be all the way on the right hand side. Let's press play. Let's start. Whoa, we got a lot going on. So the first thing that's going on is we're actually displaying milliseconds, not seconds. So to change that, we actually want to say that it's total time minus splash time divided by 1,000. So really we're saying game time converted to seconds. Let's try that again. All right, if you look, we actually are displaying seconds, but we're also displaying, I think, 9 decimals. We don't want that. We just want the first integer. So we're going to convert this to a single integer function by saying int, parenthesis, and then a parenthesis after 1,000. So that looks confusing, but integer is int parenthesis and then close parenthesis. Then we're doing some subtraction here, total time minus splash time. Then we're dividing by 1,000, and we're converting that entire mathematical equation here, this whole thing, converting that whole thing to be an integer. Let's try that again. Excellent. So now we're keeping track of how long we're playing. Now what I want to happen is I want the splash time, or actually your game time, to appear on the actual win screen. So this is where we switch to our win screen. Before we change our stage, let's stop the timer. So game time equals game time. Okay, that's going to be stop game timer to save amount of time it took to win. All right. Now let's actually go to our win function. Our win function, which is up here. And let's just change our wording a little bit. Instead of saying refresh to play again, let's actually move these things up a little bit. So victory, I'm going to move that up to 180 just to give us a little bit more space. Instead of saying refresh to play again, I'm going to say your time was. Let's put that at, I don't know, 260. Then right below that, let's print our game time. Let's put that at 300. Okay, so let's print our game time at 300. Display amount of time it took to win. And then let's add the refresh to play again back all the way at the bottom. Refresh to play again. Let's put that way down at 450. See what that looks like. Actually, so we don't have to wait. I'm just going to real quick change our stage to stage 2 just to see what that looks like. All right, that looks good. There's no time playing yet. What else I want to do? I actually want to add seconds. Also, I wanted to say how many seconds we were playing for. So let's actually say your time was game time width divided by 2. Let's say minus 60. And I'm going to change this font size to be 20. And I'm going to make this font size 60 just to make everything a little bigger. And then let's say text game time. Actually, no, sorry. Let's just say text seconds at width divided by 2 plus, I don't know, 40. So hopefully that says the amount of time we won or we were playing for, seconds. Let's change our stage back to 0 here and let's try to win this game. So I can work at this a little bit more methodically. I have to get rid of my meteor. See? Beautiful. Your time was 34 seconds. Perfect. In later videos, when we add how to lose, say if you get shot by the boss, well then you can say you lived for a certain number of seconds in a very similar way.